I'm delighted that whilst at 11 o'clock the river peaked at 8.08 metres, it's now at 7.95 metres and going down. I know there are concerns about Maclean and the like, but it does appear as though the worst of it is over. But on behalf of the Prime Minister, on behalf of the state government, I'm delighted to declare these natural disaster declaration areas in order to unlock the assistance that families, that individuals, that businesses in these areas need. Richie, do you want to...
OK, we're going to leave that media conference there. There's actually been some good news emerging from this flood crisis today. It's from the Bremer River in Ipswich. It peaked lower than we were expecting. Let's go live to Nine's Phil Wilmington. Phil, what's the feeling in the city there today? They've got to be relieved.
Wendy, what a difference a day makes. Behind me, we're right in the centre of Ipswich here. This is the CBD. Behind me, these are the floodwaters. They're receding. And as they recede, so does the concern among the business people here in town. Yesterday, for example, a lot of these businesses, they were sandbagging and they were bringing all of their stock out. Today, the situation's in the reverse. They're trying to get back to business as usual as quickly as possible. And here we have the Mayor, Paul Pasali. Can I interrupt for one moment? Mayor, a big mood swing from yesterday to today.
Absolutely fantastic, and it's great to have the Minister, Tim Manders, the Minister for Public Works and Housing, having a look at the infrastructure and how we can all work together. And that's been the key yesterday. We got it right, working together with the government and the community, and now we're sort of smiling and saying, how can we help the people in Bundaberg? You know, because I've got the experience from 2011, my council's got it, and I was just talking to Tim about maybe we can lend some support to the people up in Bundaberg with the expertise we've got.
How near a thing was it last night?
Mate, 13.9. I was just saying to Tim and yourself, you saw the face, you know, when you're looking at that floodwaters, it was like watching that rapid road. You were reflecting on 2011. You're saying, is it going to happen? Isn't it going to happen? And you want to be strong for your community, but at the same time, you're feeling the nightmare that happened 2 years ago. And you know, it was just such a wonderful feeling. I don't know, that 13.9 will be etched in my head forever. And if I ever see a horse called 13.9, I'm going to back it.
What was the extent of the damage? How many properties in the end were affected?
Well, you know, it's going to be minimal. You know, we were so lucky, and if only people could realise how much we rely on Wivenhoe Dam, you know, the effect of flood mitigation compared to water storage. But at the moment, the people of Goodna, it's like the people of Goodna have you know, won the Olympics, like Sydney won the Olympics, Australia won the Olympics. They're celebrating because they missed out on the flood. Not one property in Goodna. In Ipswich, we've got all the businesses here, you know, virtually celebrating. They want to keep the sandbags as souvenirs. Well, they can keep that, because if they keep the sandbags, they'll never have to use them again. But it's just wonderful to see that expression, and it's just like a emotional meltdown. You know, when you go through that hype and you come back, I was just telling Tim that they just feel like they just want to go and kiss somebody, and it's a great feeling, even though there are some properties, but we've got enough resources now to get in there and help those, you know, handful of properties to get back their life.
We just heard the New South Wales Premier talking about the severity of the issues they're facing down in New South Wales now in places like Grafton. I mean, your heart, you've been through it, your heart must go out to them.
I do. The only advice I can give them, just remember what the Australian spirit's all about. We've got the bushfires at one end, we've got the floods at the other. It's about people helping people. It's about neighbours helping neighbours. You know, just got to remember you're not alone. Don't panic. Stop blaming politicians. Stop blaming everybody. Natural disasters happen all over Australia, all over the world. What we'll show the rest of the world, and we showed it in Ipswich, you can get together by working together. Mother Nature throws everything at us, but I can tell you what we've got is something unique that the rest of the world hasn't got, and that's Australian spirit.
Mayor, thank you very much for your time. And
that's great. It's good to have the Minister here. Fantastic. Thanks.
Wendy, certainly here in Ipswich, for once in this whole unfolding emergency, flood emergency, one community, at least Ipswich, seems to have escaped relatively unscathed.
It is some good news. Phil Wilmington there, thank you for that. OK, to give us an idea of just how Brisbane has fared from the river's flood peak, we're going to cross now to Michael Best. He's in the 9 News helicopter for us over Brisbane right now. Michael, what are you seeing at the moment?
Well, Wendy, the pictures we're looking at now are Torwood Street down at Milton. Now, this was one of the worst hit areas in 2011, and today is one of the few streets to actually have water in it in Brisbane. Now, it only went up to about knee-high down this street earlier on and already is receding. So we can see there's some muddy water down the drains. It went into front yards, it went into backyards, it went into properties, but nothing like what we saw 2 years ago, and certainly didn't cross the floorboards in any of those houses. Now, tracking back out to the river now, which is only a couple of 100 metres away from Torwood Street, and we'll show you how it's going right now. Now, this is the Brisbane River a couple of hours after its flood peak. It peaked just before midday at about 2 metres. Now, that was actually 0.6 of a metre less than what was expected and 2.4 metres less than what we saw in 2011. Here are some pontoons over at West End. Now, 2 years ago, these were just ripped apart. They were sent right down the river. The Brisbane River is starting to flow quite quickly again, but it is nothing like what we saw 2 years ago. It's running out to sea. The peak has passed. Most, at this stage, we don't think any homes have water out of the floorboards. So it, like Ipswich, seems to have escaped relatively unscathed today.
That's what we want to hear. Michael, thank you very much for that. Well, stay with us. Still to come on 9 News Now. We've got more from the flood emergency next. Is causing absolute havoc on Queensland's roads, with mudslides and waterfalls creating treacherous conditions. Nine's Ebony Cavallaro has this report from the 9 News helicopter.
Well, here in the 9 News helicopter, we've just flown over Cunningham's Gap. The road there is the main arterial. It's the only road that can link Brisbane and the scenic rim. Now, at the moment, that road is closed in several places. There's been a lot of landslips through the mountain range there, and you wouldn't want to be trying to get a car through. There's also a lot of water on the road. Waterfalls have been coming. You can see them at several places along that stretch of road, all over the road that water is. Now, look, you might recall back in 2011, Cunningham's Gap was extremely damaged. It had to be closed for some time, and in the end, repairs ended up costing in the millions. It's a 7-kilometre stretch of road that is a very key arterial that unfortunately no one is going to be able to use for several days yet.
And the Red Cross has set up an appeal fund to help those affected by the floods. To donate, you can call 1800 811 700, or you can log on to redcross.org.au. Let's go to other news now, and bad boy tennis star Bernard Tomic is in hot water with police once again after being caught speeding. Nine's Nick Curry has the latest from the Gold Coast for us. Nick, hi, how did it all happen?
Well, Wendy, police pulled Bernard Tomic over in an unmarked police car earlier today, just before lunchtime, and the official line from the police is that he was caught doing 78 kilometres an hour in a 60-kilometre-hour zone. Now, what that means for him is a $220 infringement notice. He should have no trouble paying that off, but what will hurt him is the 3-point demerit loss. Now, you might remember Bernard was pulled over a couple of times late last year, a couple of high-profile incidents in his orange BMW. Now, they almost cost him his licence. He was handed a 12-month, 1-point provisional licence. This latest indiscretion means that he will now lose that licence.
All right, thank you very much for that. Coming up next, the Prime Minister's partner. He's made a bad joke, why he's been forced to publicly apologise. And Richard Wilkins' special report from the Screen Actors Guild Awards. It's now a lot easier to get first-hand accounts of the experiences of people in natural disaster areas. Ross Greenwood's been scouring these images on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. Ross, nice way to spend your afternoon. What have you found?
Beautiful images, incredible images, strong images as well. Let's look at some of these. A boat washed up on the beach just outside Brisbane. And again, just reminds you just how strong this is. Here's a whole bunch of people sitting around Jimboomba in the floodwaters. And of course, the floodwaters have attracted all sorts of people, truck drivers and plenty of others as well. I want to take you to another one, just showing you how powerful this is. This is the highway, the Bow Desert Boonah Road. Bow Desert 34 kilometres away, but it could be a million miles away with those floodwaters blocking your way. Write your own caption here, Wendy, I think, is the idea. How long will the washing be out there before it's dry? It could be a very, very long time. Typical Aussie image. Our favourite image of the day, however, is this one. And you can see that we've got a lovely, lovely image here, I think it is. Maybe we haven't got an image. There it is. Typical Aussie with his dog in an esky. Best image of the day, no doubt.
Excellent. Thank you for that, Ross. So let's go live now to Amelia Adams in the 9 newsroom. Amelia, what's coming up in the afternoon news?
Well, Wendy, Bundy is the main focus of the floods crisis this afternoon. The Burnett River has risen to unprecedented levels, 9.5 metres. Plenty of people evacuated. Brisbane has also reached its peak, but lower than expected, thankfully for that. So the city has basically been spared. Also, all the latest out of northern New South Wales, Wendy, that is coming up at 4:30.
Thanks, Amelia. I'm Wendy Kingston. Thanks for your company this afternoon. Have a great evening. I'll see you tomorrow. Bye.